Hey, what's up? I'm Alcox. I make games, play games, and everything in between. And today we're going to be talking about the hyper-casual industry and how it works. I think there's a lot of misconceptions here. I found this really great article by John Hook, who is the VP of Publishing at Boombit, and I think he does a spectacular job explaining the hyper-casual industry, and I'll put links below so you can read it yourself because this is just going to be a highlight. And I'm going to finish off explaining my experience testing my Buildbox game with the publisher Kwalee. After explaining all the things in the article, you'll be able to understand what happened at the end of the test with Kwalee. Let's get going. This video is brought to you by the game that I made with Buildbox that is available now or available for pre-order depending when this video comes out. I made the original prototype for this game in 3 days and then spent a month building out 50 levels and then spent another month polishing it, and I actually totally redid the last 10-20 levels last week because I had a stomach ache and was having a bad day, so I just redid everything. That being said, it means a lot to me if you download this game. Let me know what your thoughts about it and leave a review somewhere on my channel. So let's get going. The article is titled Hyper-Casual, the Fundamentals of Publishing. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw "Hello, I'm gonna make you rich," I was like, this is super tacky. And then I realized that tackiness was on purpose because this article is just full of information that it is my humble opinion. Most people who want to break into the hyper-casual game industry by making games and getting to the top of the app store, I'm not talking about people who like just straight clone, which I think this also applies to them, with the lack of knowledge of how the hyper-casual industry works. This article will help clear up any misconceptions you have. I, for the most part, already knew most of this. When I hear people asking me a lot of questions about the hyper-casual industry, I try to base my answers off of this knowledge. This video is not about hyper-casual publishers. I do have a separate video on that, so be sure to check out the links below because this isn't about the different publishers. This is the publishing industry itself. If you have the time, and a lot of people don't have the time, but if you're serious about making games for the hyper-casual industry, then you literally need to read this multiple times because you should be building your prototypes as such. I make games for fun, and here it discusses business versus fun. I do everything for fun. I don't really want to make a bunch of prototypes for publishers to get a certain metric to make a lot of money today. Maybe that's something I want to do in the future, but right now I'm just trying to build up my skills the same way I used to do Taekwondo every day for like 10 years and got a black belt. Is the same way I want to get a black belt in making games, is to just have fun with it, and then later, for me, maybe make prototypes for publishers. Maybe, I don't even know, but everybody does things differently for themselves. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first thing John mentions here, which I think is beautiful, is that the hyper-casual game industry is a business. People are not making games for fun. They're probably, some of them are making them for fun and for business, but at some point, business CPIs, prototypes, and you just check them out over and over, find what works, and go with that. Because it's a business, here we go. It's about volume and making games for user acquisition, not making games for fun. What did I just say? So it's about having people download your game, play your game, meet certain KPIs, key performance indicators. If your game gets those KPIs, as in terms of retention, downloads, then what happens is the metrics and the data will show that your game can make money. Publishers don't want your game because it's fun and has cool colors. They want your game because it can make them money. It's a business. how prototypes get made quickly, fastly, and so many things are being tested all the time. And you have some teams with 1 or 2 people and other teams with dozens of people, and they're all doing this by volume. As many as possible, as fast as possible, rinse, repeat. Let's find a way to go faster. So this is the hyper-casual industry. Fun and interesting that the hyper-casual industry has a resemblance of the hyper-casual market in terms of what people are playing. I play a lot of games. I try to play all the top App Store games, you know, for fun, but also for knowledge and information of how the games work, the mechanics, what are people liking, what is making it to the top 100, top 50, top 20, top 10, and my thoughts of why. And I can really get a good idea because I play all the games. And I like to think that this transfers into my game development. No, I take that back. I know it transfers into my game development because after I spend hours playing hyper-casual games, I take lessons mainly that they're ridiculously easy and I apply them to my game, which I make for fun for myself and anyone else who wants to download and play it. Links down below, check it out, Ball Meets World. Here, John speaks about volume, lots of volumes. Any given publisher can test between, he's giving an average of about 500 prototypes a month. So let's go ahead and take that number and use our imagination. Any good publisher, like let's take Voodoo for example, they have a streamlined process that you can go to their website, upload, check the data, add ads, and it's a very streamlined process in how things get done, how they can test many ads. So your top tier publishers could maybe, let's say, test 1,000, 2,000. This number for publishers is like surgery. They try to analyze certain KPIs of what their goals are in terms of how they can make money because again, this is a business. If you're looking at publishers easily testing 1,000 games a month, high, low. They could also be testing 2,000 games a month. So when I submitted my game to Kwalee, Kwalee's a big publisher. They're one of the big dogs, and the fact that Buildbox has a relationship with them, I think is really beneficial to the Buildbox community, because I also believe that a lot of people who are making games for hyper-casual publishers don't fully understand the hyper-casual industry, and that's why you need to read this article and or watch this video a few times. Publishers care about revenue and chart position. So I thought this piece was fascinating, and it gave a lot of information why certain games in the past had made it to the top of the app stores. Then the developers who made those games may not have seen the lucrative financial reward that I thought they should have. And it's basically publishers want to be in the top 100, top 50, top 10, because if you're in the top 10, then you can promote to other developers how your skills at marketing and publishing can get the game to the top 10. Being able to get your game high into the chart positions reaffirms why you're a publisher and why you deserve the cut that you do when working with thousands of developers every single month. The business model is to drive installs, revenues, and therefore chart position and marketing for the publisher. Very insightful. I actually need to read this, but John links out to another article talking about user acquisition. Oh, actually, I read this article. This is also super important. Again, if you're interested in the hyper-casual market, you need to read all this, take notes, highlights, and give yourself a quiz on it. Super important. Sometimes you don't know that you're not well-informed until you become well-informed. Okay, let's see. The third bold piece is chart position, revenue, ARPU / profitability are not the same goals. ARPU is average revenue per user. And that's why it's really important to understand that ARPU and profitability are not the same goal. They have total different implications of how they affect both the charts and the revenue collected by the developer. Now, this is what I kind of hinted on earlier. This is big. This is like something that I didn't know before, but basically publishers care more about chart positions. Sometimes, if not, let's just say most of the time, care about their chart position more than they do about the single developer, because if they're testing thousands of games a month, there's hundreds of developers that they are working with. So basically developers come and go, but your chart position as a publisher, that is gold. John talks about, I see a lot of PR about games being top 10, low CPI, day 1 retention, day 7 retention. What I never see openly discussed is ARPU / profitability. And it's actually ARPU divided by profitability. Why is that? And this is simply put, if publishers disclose this information, John believes that there would be a lot of very unhappy developers. What developers would see is that their games' profits are being taken and then reinvested into user acquisition, maintaining chart position for the benefit of a publisher, not the developers. I know of a case of someone who had a Buildbox 2 game. It got remade in Unity, and that publishers took the cost that it made into Unity and charged the developer what the first month's revenue, which is literally the most valuable month of a game when it's published on the App Store, and reinvested it into the user acquisition of getting people to download that game, which is why that game then got to #1, because it was an amazing game, very innovative and well done. But the developer didn't see the profit. Like, if you get your game to #1, you shouldn't have to worry about money for a while. But the developer didn't make a cash out payday. And I never understood why. I always assumed it was because the publisher just took all that money. Now I understand that that publisher probably just reinvested that money into user acquisition, making it get #1. So again, that's for that publisher to do well in the charts. Now, knowing this would be crazy to work with that publisher in any kind of lab or experiment, because I don't want that kind of treatment as a developer who spends time making their game. And he's got some good examples of their experience and success in publishing some game. #4, testing metrics. Okay, so this is super important. Again, it's all about data. It's all about data. Publishers care about the data. Are you meeting the data? Are you making the numbers? Because they're not going to invest in something that's going to lose them money. Some of these metrics basically make it a shoo-in that if the publisher invests like $1 million, they're gonna make back $1 million plus $500,000, for example. If the metrics say this game is gold, then they're going to publish it. But if not, then most of the time the publishers are gonna ask you to make modifications or keep sending prototypes. So here, John is just talking about day 1 retention, CPI. Okay, CPI targets of 20 cents. This is what I usually see and hear about, is people are looking for a CPI of 20 cents, which means that for 20 cents on like Facebook advertising, you can get somebody to download your game. Now, if you can get somebody to download your game for 20 cents or 25 cents, and then they have a high day 45 retention, let's say a day 7 retention, that's more plausible, or day 1 retention, day 7 retention, then it means that after 1 day of playing the game, or after 7 days of playing the game, the player is still playing your game, which is amazing, because this is all hyper casual. People download games, they play the games, and then they 2 weeks later don't even remember ever downloading or playing said game. There is the LTV, lifetime value of a game. My game, like Ball Meets World, I hope it has a high lifetime value. I made the game with 50 levels, and the way I'm going through the levels, it's a lot of possibility to play the levels multiple times to find certain items and things. Then John talks about creative tricks to boost installs, chart positions, and revenue. Now, I thought this was very insightful and made so much sense. Basically, here John explains why you see those mobile ads that look nothing like the game itself. Here he talks about LTVs, which is lifetime value. The way some of these mobile ads work is they just show you this really cool, non-realistic, exciting game to get you to download the game. That's why those exist. There's a reason why those advertisers are purposely misleading you, is because they don't care whether or not you continue to play the game or the fact that the game advertisement looks nothing like the game itself. Their only goal is to get you to download that game. You download the game, then they have better user acquisition numbers. Do those user acquisition numbers reflect the gameplay? No, and in fact they probably hurt the day 1, day 7 and lifetime value retention of the game. But data is data, and some publishers are only looking for specific data points like user acquisitions. Again, very great insight. Finally, John talks about kind of like a revenue split, numerical models of what he thinks is fair, what makes sense for developers and publishers to work together to create successful campaigns and games and launches. Basically talking about how he believes a 50-50 split, no caps, no geo limits, to keep it super simple, is best for both the developer like you and me and the publisher. I've always been curious about this. Obviously, if you're working with, let's say, Voodoo, who is just known to hit home runs, there's flexibility based on what you're looking for. I think this is a good foundation if you're just not sure where to start. Listen to John. He's the VP of publishing at Boombit. And then finally, he summarizes that, it's business. It's a business, and then hopefully by reading this article, you have a better understanding of the business. I'm always amazed at how many people think the hyper-casual industry works in a completely different way. And this is probably one of the reasons why I don't work with the hyper-casual industry so much, because I'm in it for the fun. I almost forgot the most important thing. The most important thing is iOS 14 is coming out very soon. If iOS 14 is gonna change the game, and the reason it changes the game is all this is built on a model of user acquisition, daily retention, and being able to learn, study, adapt to the metrics and the data. But iOS 14 is gonna change everything. The users, the players must opt in for the data to be accessed. And if you don't opt in, then you don't have access to the data. And literally the entire industry is built upon that data. What does that mean? I have no idea, because nobody has any idea. No one knows what's gonna happen when iOS 14 comes out. Is the data gonna be completely gone? Is it gonna be 50%? What will it look like? Will be determined after iOS 14 comes out, after publishers start changing their business model. User acquisitions can easily jump up from 20 cents, which is a good goal, let's say today. But after this, the user acquisition may skyrocket to an unknown number, which may change entire goals of publishers. So this is actually really big, and I almost forgot about that. So thank you, John, for covering all this. Super insightful. Buildbox and Kwalee now have a partnership, which is amazing, and I use Buildbox. If you use Buildbox, what does this mean for you? Before testing your game with a publisher with Buildbox is ridiculously difficult, and even now, if I had an amazing game with amazing metrics, I would even consider paying somebody to rebuild that game in Unity and then testing that game with other publishers, which is what I have known other people to do who use Buildbox. But with this Buildbox Kwalee partnership. It is a game changer, and I didn't understand how much of a game changer it was until I tested my game. Now, my game, Ball Meets World, which is available for download or pre-order depending on when this video is out, didn't meet their metrics to continue testing. I believe the CPI was around, it was almost $3. It was like $2.75. That being said, I've gone ahead and re-changed all the first 10 levels before I even knew what the CPI was to make it easier, because I actually had my mom play the game and she had a really difficult time, and I was like, I'm making hyper casual games here. Let me make the first 10 levels 100 times easier. I did that, and you know, with Buildbox, it's so easy to just go in and like redo everything. And by the time I got back to Kwalee, and again, I'm just testing with Kwalee because Buildbox makes it so easy. You got the Facebook integration, game analytics integration. I even made a tutorial on how to do that. That may have already been published or will come out later. But it's really easy to test your game with Kwalee. You submit your game. My game was a kind of like a full-fledged finished game. This whole video is about the hyper-casual industry and how prototypes are being tested, which kind of also makes sense to why the last game jam was prototypes, because it's all about prototypes in the hyper-casual industry. Kwalee probably tests 1,000 prototypes a month. I know when I received an email that they were confirming my test, I had accidentally been sent a list of half a dozen other games that were being tested along with my game at the same time. So that just gives a clear insight that Kwalee is a big publisher. They're testing a lot. They're testing for those metrics. I didn't meet the metrics, and I'm okay with that because I literally had already redone the first 10 levels before I even knew what my metrics were. Again, I'm making games for fun. I'm making games for myself and other people that want to play games that are innovative compared to what you see on the App Store today. Yeah, it was really easy. It was very helpful, and I will most likely be testing games with them again, or at least prototype ideas, because why not? Why not? I have a lot on my plate of what I want to get done. I'm still trying to finish my game right now because I kind of accidentally, by making my first couple of levels easier, I want to make all my levels easier. But when you know how to use Buildbox, you can literally create 10, 20 levels in a day, but other issues arise. Overall, I thought it was a great experience, and I would totally recommend it for anybody else making games for the hyper-casual industry. And I hope this video helps. If you found this video informative, please hit the like and subscribe button below as I put out content around making and playing games. If you've made a game with Buildbox or any game engine and you want to promote it below, go ahead and do so, but you gotta do a few things first. Let me know who you are. What number of game is this for you to be published? Is it your first game? Is it your 10th game? Things like that I found very informative. If you just leave a link below, then the Google bots will probably delete it. But if you have that other information, it may flag it for me to check, and I check those every couple of months. And special shout out to John for writing that article, because I think he is helping inform legions of people who are in the hyper-casual industry but may not have a full grasp and understanding of how things work, and a lot of side information that I myself did not know about. Now that I know, the more you know. Reading Rainbow. All right, until next time, stay safe out there. Peace.